Hello, hello, hello. I'm Matt Williamson at Williamson NFL. How's it going? Just walked in the door from Tuesday OTAs. Saw everybody down there. Weather was awesome. Spirits were up. All that good stuff. I'll be back there tomorrow, which is the day you're probably listening to this. And it sounds like Gabe Davis will be there with me tomorrow in some capacity. What do we think about this move? That's the news of the day in Steelerland, as he is coming for a Wednesday visit. I guess he could even, I don't know if he could be on the field Thursday, but he would be here for mandatory stuff next week if he were to be signed in the next couple days. Do we like the move or not? Mixed feelings. So, as a Bill, he did a lot of damage against Steelers, and folks, that's not what he does every week. He did happen to be some of his best games happened against the Steelers, getting behind the defense, which is what he does. I thought he was somewhat of an overrated player. Then he hit free agency, and as Jacksonville so often does, vastly overpaid him. They are the kings of winning free agency and adding all these guys a year or two later, cut, because they signed bad contracts. Now, to Jacksonville's credit, they had a new GM, a new coach. Brian Thomas is a superstar. They trade up for Hunter, who's going to be mostly a receiver first, I guess the best way to put it. So that looks like an awesome young pairing. And some of you might even remember Parker Washington from Penn State. He's an intriguing number 3 talented guy. So they're young, cheap, and had no room for Gabe Davis. Really to no fault of Gabe's, nor is signing an outlandish contract his fault. We all would do it. So he gets cut a little bit after the draft, and I guess some teams have sniffed around him, but nobody's offered him a contract to his liking, obviously, or he wouldn't be out there. So what is he? He is a size, speed guy. I mean, pretty straight line-ish. He's a deep threat with good size and speed. I'm going to say that over and over and over. And more of a home run hitter, 9-route, post routes, more of a go type of guy, high average depth of target. He's not a nickel and dimer. He's not a technical route runner that's going to kill you with slants and comebacks and outs and, precise route running in the short to intermediate area. Doesn't mean he won't ever catch a short one or, you can't get him in the ball in his hands. He can break a tackle or two. And to me, ideally, he's your third or fourth best wide receiver. So he would be useful. Trust me, they could have sure used him last year. His last 2 years in Buffalo were pretty darn productive. Things didn't go well for anyone in Jacksonville last year. I still think he has what you saw in Buffalo still in him. And as important to any part of this equation, you can sign him for nothing. He doesn't cost you a draft pick. I do think he would get more than a league minimum contract. He would probably get some sort of signing bonus that would indicate that he's going to make the team. I don't think it's a Robert Woods deal, just sign him to whatever. And if he makes the team, great. Now, so in that aspect, why not? Okay. And he's one of your best 5 receivers without question. Considering the state of the wide receiver room right now, doesn't cost you a pick. I would assume, here's the rub. Well, I would assume such a signing wouldn't preclude you from still making another move at the position. But with Metcalf, Wilson, Austin, and Davis all basically guaranteed to make the team, and then Woods, Skoranek, who I also think is pretty close to making the team, Scotty Miller, etc., is there room for another? I don't think this is a team that's going to keep 7, probably won't keep 6, because they're going to keep extra tight ends than most teams. So my reservations for signing Gabe Davis isn't the money. It isn't the compensation at all. I would hope that the organization wouldn't sign him tomorrow or whatever and say, cool, we're good at wide receiver. We're done. Now, the Arthur Smith offense usually features one player at that position. That's going to be Metcalf, no matter what. And again, like when Pickens was hurt last year, they sure could have used Gabe Davis, and he would be a welcome addition. And he's a lot different than Roman Wilson and Austin. Just the physical traits, without question. But if you think you're done with that move, I've got problems with that. Like if, they signed Gabe Davis, and I know people lie at the podium, but Steelers go to the podium and be like, we couldn't believe he's still available. We got a gift because Jacksonville traded up for Hunter, and we now have a high-end receiver room. Well, you don't. You don't. Now, that certainly would make me feel a lot better about going into week 1 with Gabe Davis as opposed to the way the wide receiver room is currently constructed on June 3rd. Obviously, it would be better. I like your chances of winning early in the season better with him. And I'll be honest, with Metcalf not there today, I kind of leaned over to Dale and Wes, and I'm looking at the group of receivers that's working out on the field on June 3rd going, wow, that's a bad group. No Metcalf, no Pickens, obviously. That's pretty brutal. And Gabe Davis would be very welcome to what they're running with now. And again, I think it would lighten your urgency. Maybe you make a better deal. You're more patient. You don't jump in the deep end at wide out. If you are still going to add somebody, and you could even wait into the season, into training camp, some guys having a contract dispute, you could be the team that sweeps in. You could even possibly wait until the trade deadline if your season's going well, dump a 4th-round pick for a quality wideout. But again, that doesn't, I just hope they're not done with Davis. But he does have some field stretching ability. I do think the deep ball is very much going to be still part of the offense, as is the middle of the field. But they are going to throw deep, a lot off play action, as they had last year. And Davis brings that to the table. I don't love him. I think he's good. He's not great. He's a great 3 or 4, does what he does, but he's not super well-rounded. So that's my thoughts. I would understand both ends of grabbing him or not. I just hope that's not the only answer. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. With the largest selection of odds on everything from the NBA to NHL playoffs to MLB to UFC and boxing, BetOnline has you covered for all your online wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. Speaking of the offense and some of their woes, I found this chart somebody did the homework on that I found very interesting. And it's very fantasy related, but it's really offensive related. Now, I'm not a betting expert, but there are avenues where you can bet on any game of the NFL season right now. Over-unders, against the spread, etc. You can bet week 15 if you want in June. That's bonkers to me, but apparently Vegas makes money doing it, so it's available. Now, what can we do with that information? Trust me, I didn't do this homework. I cut and pasted it. But what you can do with that information is you can figure out suggested scores of every game. What do I mean by that? Okay. Doesn't matter what week it is. We'll call it week 10. Steelers are playing the Bears. Whatever. The over-under is 41. The Steelers are favored by 1 point. So the suggested total of that game would be 21-20 Steelers. See what I'm saying? 21 plus 20 equals 41, which is the over-under, and the spread hits. So in a way, Vegas, who are really, 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 really smart, have predicted the score of every game if you do that homework. If it's a 7-point spread, the winner wins by 7, and it adds up to the over-under. See what I'm saying? So with that knowledge, with that piece of data, we can figure out the expected points per game scored by every team in the league. See what I'm saying? So, for example, the Steelers are not at the top of that list. Vegas, who are really smart, thinks Buffalo will average 26.7 points per game, best in the league. The Ravens will at 26.5. The Lions, 25.3. Kansas City, 25.2. Washington's also at 25.2. Philly's at 25 even. Those are your best. Now we scroll down and we look at the division. We have Cincy at 9 at 24.6. We already mentioned Baltimore. And so 2 high-scoring teams in the division. Also 2 low-scoring teams in the division. The Cleveland Browns are expected to score 18.6 points per game. Last. Contrast that to Buffalo at 26.7. They're even pretty well behind the Saints, who are at 19.2. The Giants, 19.3. The Jets, 19.6. This is not the neighborhood you want to be in, scoring under 20 points a game. Now, let me preface this, and I don't even know that I have to say it. This is all very subject to change. I mean, this is a crystal ball here, but I also can't stress enough, Vegas is really smart. So those worst 4 teams stand out under 20 points per game. Jets, Giants, Saints, and especially the Browns. But at 28 is the Titans, 20.5. At 27 is the Raiders at 20.6. And then there's the Steelers. Now, they're a little bit of a jump over the Raiders, but they come in at 26th in the league in expected points per game at 21.6. A little behind the Patriots, Panthers, Colts, as mentioned, right above the Raiders, Titans. It's not the neighborhood you want to be in. It really isn't. And it hadn't dawned on me, but I assume there's also a defensive one of these out there somewhere. But I stole this off a fantasy site who is, interested in, hey, if I draft a Breece Hall or Garrett Wilson, my team's likely not to score a lot of points. Maybe I don't take them. Instead, I take someone from the Lions or Chiefs. You know what I mean? So I bet the defensive numbers are out there. If you want to do the homework for me and send me the link, I'll be into it. I'm sure their Steelers are much better in the defensive expected points per game allowed. But this isn't promising. And I should mention, I assume, and again, I am not a betting expert, I assume that these numbers are under the assumption that Aaron Rodgers is a Steelers quarterback. I probably should have led with that. Because if not, I would bet the over in every Steeler. I mean, I'd probably bet the Steelers across the board because I don't think Rudolph's going to be the starting quarterback. So I would assume if I'm fielding bets, if I'm a bookie or a casino in Vegas and I'm taking bets, I have to operate under the assumption that the Steelers quarterback position is better than it is now and not react to it, not change all the lines the day Rodgers gets traded. Maybe you guys know more about betting than me. Maybe these expected totals would go up if they signed Rodgers, but I would think they're either straddling the line of Rudolph versus Rodgers, Rudolph plus, Rodgers minus, or just going to operate like Rodgers or even Cousins for that matter is a starting quarterback. So it's not like, oh, relief is here. They're going to average 5 more points per game the day they signed Aaron Rodgers. I bet that's baked in. All right, everyone. Good stuff. Take care.